to get things going, this is one of the community cons that I'm most excited to talk about because yeah, a lot has happened in September. It's been a very active a very active month. Just a quick summary, there's been 4 different minor upgrades for Tailwarden, and today there's going to be one of the biggest one of the biggest releases for Komiser. So later on today, Komiser is going to ship version 3.1.0. We'll get into that now, but I just wanted to start by looking over at the Komiser landing page, because this site is going to undergo a makeover very shortly. So this is one of the last times that you're going to be able to see this landing page right here. Okay, so getting straight into the meat of things, just so you know, the community cons usually follow the following cadence. We're going to touch on Komiser first. We're going to then look at Tailwarden. We'll then go over the events, the highlights for the events, the community updates. We have some updates when it comes to contributors. Moving up, we have some shout outs definitely to give out there. We're going to talk about the content, and we're going to talk about, importantly, the plans for October, which we have a good few. October is going to be as crazy, if not even more crazy, than September. So cool. So let's jump straight in. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the release of Komiser that you're going to see later on today. So some of the incredible features that are going to be released that you're going to be able to find is going to be the resource dependency graph, the onboarding wizard, and also the open cost integration. So let's have a look to see what that looks like. So I have Komiser open up here, and just before we go over there, this is probably what you remember of Komiser up here, this tab. We have the dashboard and we have the inventory, but now we're also going to have the Explorer tab right here at the top. So as always, you'll be able to see the dashboard here, and then you'll be able to go over to the Explorer. In the Explorer, you're going to find this resource dependency graph, which at the moment only supports AWS resources. Now the plan is to expand this out in future releases of this feature, but as of right now, this is what we see. Big thanks to Alex, the internal senior full stack developer at Tailwarden, who in record time has put this together. But let's explore this a little bit further. So this resource dependency graph, to wrap our heads around it, is a visual representation of the relationships, of the dependencies that different AWS resources have amongst themselves. We can zoom in and we can start understanding what is going on. What are the different resources? What are the different nodes, and how they relate to each other? Because it's one thing to see a long list of an inventory, to see all your IAM policies, all your EC2 instances, but this visual representation really kind of expands the way that we can understand our environment. And of course, you might say, I mean, this is cool and all. I mean, we're going to be zooming in and out, but how can I make even more sense of this? You might not see it initially, but in this very first iteration, we have the filters. The filters are going to help you out to make further sense of what's going on. So you might have, this is once we have the different cloud providers supported, you're going to be able to filter this way. Maybe you're looking for a specific cluster that you know has more than 3 dependencies. So you're looking for, say for example, an S3 bucket that you know has more than 3 dependencies. So you can filter that by filtering is greater than 3, for example. And here we see the different clusters of any cluster that has more than 3, at least, or at least, at least 3. So right here we can start understanding that we have a Bastion host that is part of this VPC. It has the Bastion security group connected to it. and this the subnet, the elastic, the ENI. So it's a very, very incredible first approximation to understand in a very, very new visual way our resources. The following steps, as you might imagine, would be to through potentially colors to start understanding what resources cost money, which resources don't. So we can start identifying in a very visual way. Say, for example, if we have an EC2 instance over here that doesn't have any dependencies, but we see that it's costing us money, why would we have that there? Why would that make sense? It probably wouldn't make sense. So it's going to be a new way to be able to detect inefficiencies, to detect things that we might need to take actions upon in our environment. So as of later on today, as of version 3.1.1, the resource dependency is going to be available for you to play around with. I encourage you to do so, because through your tinkering, we're going to understand in which ways we need to expand it, what filters potentially need to be added, what ways we can help you to make this feature really instrumental and useful to you. So again, big thanks for everything, Alex. This was absolutely great work. Perfect. So moving on, the onboarding wizard is going to be shipped also in this version. At the moment, there's still a bit of tweaking that's happening in the back end for the onboarding wizard. For anyone who's joined any of the Komiser weekly meetings, we have seen kind of sneak peeks of it. The onboarding wizard is going to be a feature that allows through a very, very simple set process to be able to add your credentials, add whatever database or data persistence method that you would like, and not have to interface directly, not have to edit the config.toml file directly yourself. So at the moment, I don't have that ready for us to show, since it's still being worked on, but later on today, you'll also be able to check it out. Early next week, I'll have some tutorial videos on how to configure it, how to use it, so stay tuned for that. And additionally, we also have the OpenCast integration that's going to be shipped in this version update. The thanks here goes to Azanul. Thanks a million for integrating this. This is a feature that's been on the board for a while. To be honest, I thought it was quite a complex task that might take a while to get around. But when I asked Azanul how the experience was for getting it done, he told me, yeah, I thought it was going to be complicated at the start too, but in the end it was pretty straightforward. So just so you don't know, a bit of context. Sorry, I lost the screen here. Let me get back. Perfect. So a bit of context that OpenCast is an open source metrics kind of revealer for cost of Kubernetes objects. So now Komiser is going to be able to, obviously Komiser already has a Kubernetes integration, as you can probably see here. In the inventory, we have a bunch of Kubernetes objects which are at the moment deployed in my cluster, but the cost column is empty because we didn't have a way to calculate the per service cost. But now, thanks to the OpenCast integration, we're going to be able to detect the per service cost in real time. So anything that does incur cost, say for example pods and any kind of like persistent volume, any storage services, those are going to be calculated. So there's going to be a detailed description on the changelog for you to understand which services you should expect to see costs from and which you shouldn't. But this is also going to be available very, very soon. So yeah, as of today. So that's pretty much, there's also other improvements that are going to be shipped, but those are the three major features that you can expect to see from 3.1.1 onwards. Great. Now, moving on to Tailwarden. Tailwarden shipped four minor upgrades this month of September. So at the moment, the most recent version is 2.0.16. Big shout out to the internal Tailwarden team, who's been just absolutely incredible. Both the tech team, the design team, and also product, because it's just been a record amount of features shipped also. So let's start wrapping our heads around some of the features that you can now find on Tailwarden. So Tailwarden now has, if we head over to the inventory section, we have a new way of identifying our custom views with customized icons. So let's go ahead and create a new custom view here. I just want to choose, for example, my GCP account, which I know it's GCP Sandbox. Cool. So I'm going to apply this. Perfect. So let's save this as a custom view, and I want to call it GCP Sandbox. Perfect. And I want to make it share too. I want to share it with the rest of my team. So now we can actually change the icons here, choosing the different colors. GCP, it's a cloud, right? So cloud, and it's a white cloud. So the clearest one potentially here, maybe this one. Perfect. So we have a GCP cloud, but we have all over 1,000 icons that you can search and add to customize your custom views and to really start making this section your own. And hopefully these kind of delightful delightful kind of tips will help you kind of warm as much to the product, because if I think of other tools that I really like using, it's those ones that have those little customizing features that really help me customize the tool to the way I want to use it. Notion comes to mind, for example. So cool. That's one of the features that you have at your disposal as of the latest version. Heading back over to the dashboard, let's go down to the Cost Explorer. So now in the Cost Explorer, you're going to be able to group by service, by account, by region. But you might have, say for example, when it comes to services in a certain cloud provider, there might be so many services, probably hundreds, and you might not want to have all of them in the Cost Explorer, especially the ones that don't incur costs. You might even only want to see a certain subset of them. So what you can do is you can actually exclude the services and just include the ones that you really want to see in the Cost Explorer. So now you can do this very easily right here. You can also toggle between monthly views, daily views. Up until now, the only way to you would only be able to then gather the different the metrics in the last 12 months all the way down to the last month, but now we have a custom date picker. So now you can just say between the 10th and the 19th, for the 29th, what cost has been incurred in that time range. So this custom date picker is also available for you to use. Perfect. Speaking of cost, we've also shipped the per resource cost for GCP. So up until now, the start of the month, we only had granular costs for AWS. So if we head over here, in the cost insight, you would be able to enable the granular cost feature. In order to do this, you would have to beforehand create a cost and usage report. This is something that you do inside your AWS account, and you would have to do this per AWS account. So you would create the report, store it in an S3 bucket. You would choose the granularity, and you would also choose the path prefix. Then the only thing that you would need to do on the Tailwarden side is add the S3 bucket here, and you would also need to add the prefix. There's also additional permissions that you need to give Tailwarden to be able to read that S3 bucket, but I've explained all of that in a tutorial video that you're going to be able to access through the help link right here. So up until now, it was only through AWS, but now we also have the granular insights feature enabled for GCP. So you can also, the same logic applies, but instead of cost and usage reports, you're going to create a billing report. But again, you have all of the information through an updated video that you're going to be able to find through this link. Cool. So the cool thing about the cost and usage reports is that, the granular cost feature is that now we have per resource level. We have a cost breakdown at the resource level, and that's incredibly powerful. So let's go ahead. Let's just refresh this so we can get a fresh inventory. So let's look at what that might look like. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm looking at all resources. To be honest, I don't have that much cost being incurred in my current environment, but we do have a little bit. So we will be able to see what I'm talking about here. So let's click on this S3 bucket. We're going to be able to see that this S3 bucket in the month of September in the last 6 months, has had this cost progression. This is something that's super powerful, especially for resources that fluctuate a lot in cost. You can also choose the granularity. You're going to be able to see exactly the cost behavior at the resource level. So this is something that we're very excited for you to try out. Hopefully you're going to be able to get a lot of value, because we'll usually find, right, that in most environments, the main offenders, the resources that cost the most amount of money are usually not hundreds and tens of thousands or anything. It's a small subset of really expensive resources. So the fact that we can now pinpoint them and through this graph see the cost progression, it's very powerful. Great. So we also have the cost evolution there. Moving on, we've also shipped, we kind of glossed over here when we went down to the Cost Explorer, but we have this full new section in the dashboard, which is the tags audit. So really what's happening here, which for some people might not be that intuitive at first glance, is Tailwarden is looking at all of the virtual tags and all of the provider tags. So just to remind you, the virtual tags are the tags that are created at the Tailwarden level. The cloud providers don't have, they're not aware of those tags. And of course, the provider tags are the ones that you've preset over in the provider. And you can just see the tags coverage. You can see the percentage of resources in your environment that have that tag. So the key idea here is that this is kind of an inventory. You want to be able to see exactly what tags are being used, and you might find here that some tags haven't been tagged correctly. Some the enforcement hasn't been done, because sometimes you might not realize that there might be some spelling mistakes in your tags, and you will definitely see it pop up here. If you see a CloudFormation and then you see CloudFormation without an O, it will pop up here, because you'll see that there's a very small percentage of resources that have that tag. So for environments that are heavily tagged, that are following strict tagging conventions, this is going to be a very great inventory tool, just to make sure that the conventions are followed, that there's no mistakes, and that the tag coverage rate per resource is as expected. So hopefully this is something that you find value in also. So now when it comes to daily digest, and I just want to move forward a little bit quicker. So heading back over to the cloud account section, we can now head over to notifications, and we can check the daily Slack digest. This is going to be sent to Slack, giving us a budget kind of summary of what happened that day, and also the budget Slack alert, which we can set alerts for certain cost that's being exceeded. Perfect. So feel free, open up an account if you don't have one, check it out and check out these new features. Apart from these, you're also going to be able to find the new improvements. For example, the cloud accounts here is searchable. We have the search bar. We also have the hybrid onboarding, which is now we want to make sure that if you don't have an account, we want to make sure that you kind of understand all of the features that you can use to be able to get the most amount of value out of Tailwarden. So now we have this hybrid onboarding, which is that we connect with you, and through a short session, we ramp you up and get you ready. Everything else, please feel free to check the changelog. There's so many other improvements, other bug fixes that we've addressed that I could just go on, and this meeting would get a little bit too long, but this is mainly what I wanted to show you. So yeah, feel free to check it out. Cool. Moving on. Events that have happened in September were two. We had an event with, let me just head over to the videos section right here. We had an event with Sandro Volpicello. This was the co-author of the AWS Fundamentals book. Very, very interesting conversation about building serverless and understanding AWS. Very, very cool chat indeed. We also had the virtual workshop yesterday with David G. Simmons from Authorize. We looked at the Authorize platform and how to kind of very easily automate and create network policies inside our Kubernetes clusters. The video for this is going to be uploaded a little bit later on, and I'm going to add, I'm just pending adding the timestamps to the video, even though if you want to check it out beforehand, you can also head over to the live, which is right here, even though there's no timestamp, so it might be a little bit more difficult to kind of sort through. Cool. So heading back over to the community. So the community updates that we have for this month is that we have a new project maintainer. So this is going to be the third official maintainer. So big congrats to Phillip. Phillip is one of the contributors who's been around the longest. He's worked very closely on the onboarding wizard. He yeah, I'm just looking here, is on the call. Yeah, we've worked really closely. He's been pivotal and just a really good influence to have in the community. So thanks a million for everything you do. So now if you're opening PRs against develop in Komiser, either Shubham, Avanesh or Phillip are going to be able to help you out by reviewing, giving feedback and all of that good stuff. So congrats again, Phillip. Talking about congrats, we also need to congratulate the contributor of the month. The contributor of the month for September is Seyi. Seyi has been working quite closely with Phillip, working quite closely with the onboarding wizard working group. Also, big congrats to him because yeah, again, growing with the community, growing with the product with very valuable contributions. Thanks a million, Seyi, for being part of the community. We really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with you on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, and that will be recorded, and you'll be able to catch the contributor of the month video shortly after that. So stay tuned for that. But of course, the community has been very active in September, so I also want to shout out Azunul for the OpenCost integration and all the work that he's doing now after that. Greg for the great work on the on the onboarding wizard. Alex, the resource dependency wizard, thanks a million for all your work. Shobham, Avinash for all the great PRs, for the reviews, for all of the conversations about the directions in which we're going to drive the next features. I mean, the Komiser isn't really half of what it could be unless you guys are on the team. So really, really thanks a million. I kind of find it hard to stress that enough. Perfect. So moving on to the content section, I just wanted to quickly touch on the 2 blog posts that were posted this month. I do apologize. We usually try to keep a little bit of a higher cadence of blog post creation, but this month has been a little bit harder to do. But we've had 2 blog posts mainly on cost, mainly around FinOps and spending. So Mohammed wrote bringing transparency and control to cloud spending, and I wrote a blog post that was published yesterday, which is how to convince your organization about adopting FinOps practices. And I took the approach of imagining that we had hypothetical different managers with different managerial styles, and how we can tailor our arguments for each manager. So if you feel so inclined, please check that out. Cool. Interesting updates for October. So if this has been cool in September, October is going to be absolutely incredible. First of all, we have Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest has officially started, if I'm not mistaken, or will officially start on Monday. But Komiser is going to be a project that you're going to be able to participate in Hacktoberfest through. We're going to diligently go through the issues, tag them to make sure and also update the descriptions to make sure that they're as actionable as possible. At the end of next week, Kunal Verma and I were going to do a live stream to kind of explain Hacktoberfest for any people that might be joining the event for the first time. And we're also going to resolve a Hacktoberfest eligible issue live. So anyone who is starting completely from scratch will see what the process is like from start to finish. More than likely, the live stream will be next Friday. So we're very excited about Hacktoberfest and Komiser's participation in it. On the 17th of October, we're also there's going to be a big milestone for the community. There's going to be a big milestone for Komiser, which is that we're launching the product on Product Hunt. This is something that we're really excited for, because we really think that with these last features, Komiser is really ready to be pushed out a little bit further. We want to get more eyeballs on the project, because we really think that it's a project that can start adding a lot of tangible value to small to medium sized and to big sized companies, as it is at the moment. So the Product Hunt launch is going to, if successful, is going to be pivotal in us getting in front of other people. So for those of you who are watching, for those of you here, any help that you can give us on the day of just spreading the word and talking about Komiser, that will be hugely appreciated. Thanks a million. There's also going to be 2 virtual workshops that are going to take place on the Tailwarden Discord server, or at least the ones that we organize ourselves. One is going to be around serverless technologies. The other one is going to be around a particular Kubernetes tool. There's also going to be another event, another webinar on the Civo platform, and this is one in which I'm going to explain Komiser for a Civo cloud use case, and I'll be sharing out the information for whoever would like to join and to attend that. But that's going to be over on the Civo platform. And apart from that, there's going to be new videos, there's going to be new blog posts. We're going to keep the content pumping. We're going to keep the momentum going, because there's something kind of like really magical. There's kind of like a snowball effect that's happening now in the Komiser community, and we want to keep it going. So that's it for me. it's always strange for me to ramble on for over 30 minutes in my home office here. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've been really excited about everything that's been happening, really excited about what's coming next. If you have any questions, if you have any remarks, please add them here in the chat. But if not, that's it for me, and that's it for us for this week. I'd like to thank you a lot for attending. Thanks a million for all the work, for all the support. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you shortly. Thanks a million. Bye, everyone.